Okay, so for everybody who's tuning in, y'all already know what we're going to talk about because it's what everybody's talking about. But just keep in mind, I am at my parents' house, and my nieces are here, and so you might get interrupted. In fact, Lauren got to meet my niece Emerson already. So
he's so cute.
Yeah, Emerson gave Lauren an entire lesson in the Spider-Verse because
100%, and I needed it because I don't know shit.
Yeah, it's true. Emerson's like, Rhino is bad, and Lauren's like, wow, interesting. She's like writing notes and everything. I mean, like, yeah, there will be a test on this later. So,
oh God, no more. I thought I was done. I'm done with school.
No, listen, school never ends, let me tell you. And when you go back to school after being out for 20 years, it is the weirdest experience, which I went through recently. But none of that matters. Guys, hi, welcome back to Simply Amazing. It is the podcast for all things Nightcrawler related. And guess what, guys? This is Nightcrawler related because it's fucking Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, Lauren, yeah. I can't even get started with this. I'm Lisa. I'm Lisa, aka the OG Nocturne, and I'm joined here by the fabulous Purple today. Very regal.
Yes, I wore a Nightcrawler shirt yesterday, and I was just like, I'm gonna wear this shirt because it's still nerdy. There, it's a bunch of random quotes Sarah Lance on Legends of Tomorrow said. But I didn't want to wear my my Banff cereal Nightcrawler shirt to the doc today because I never met the stock before, and I was like, I don't need this doctor treating me like I'm 10. They need to know me first, then I can wear the shirts. So this was a little more tame, so the doctor doesn't treat me like I'm 10, and I can't with that.
Listen, I've gotten into so many great conversations with random doctors or, therapists or receptionists or cashiers just because of the cool shirts we wear. So I'm always about wearing a fun shirt and just, letting my freak flag fly.
That's valid. And again, I don't have an issue with it. It's just if I haven't met a doc yet, I've had too many experiences with asshole doctors that I literally had a doctor once, when I was in severe stomach pain, pat me on the head and said, don't, and literally told me, don't be depressed. And ever since then, until I know the doc, I don't fuck around.
Yeah, no, that's fair. As women, we do have other situations we need to overcome when it comes to going to the doctor. Yeah, it's kind of funny because my therapist, actually, I was talking to him about X-Men recently, and it just came up as part of therapy, and he reaches over. Actually, no, I wasn't talking about. I was wearing my Juggernaut shirt that we have in the suit in the shop, and he saw it and he was like, "Oh, Juggernaut!" And he reaches out of the screen and he pulls out this Juggernaut action figure he just happened to have with him, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is my therapist. It's meant to be."
Yes, 1,000%.
I might be violating HIPAA at this point talking about that, but anyway, guys.
I mean, HIPAA protects you, right?
HIPAA protects you. Hippos do not. Don't fuck with a hippo. That's what I learned.
Yeah, no. There's a reason Hungry Hippos is a famous game. I'm not sure why it's for children though. It's very brutal.
It is brutal, and when I was at the movies watching Deadpool and Wolverine, they had a trailer for the new Mufasa movie, and there's a scene where Mufasa is jumping over all the hippos, and I'm like, whose child is this? Whose child is this? Who? I'm sorry. You live in Africa and you don't understand hippos?
Listen, I'm just going to pull this out of my ass and say that's fantastic commentary for how parents don't watch their damn kids anymore today. Kids are just running amok, fucking everywhere, and nobody is taking care of them. Not even just so it's don't bother me, kid, but also for your child's safety. You don't need to be a helicopter parent, but what are you doing? What are we doing here?
I will say, I agree with you to an extent. However, having spent only a couple hours so far today with my two nieces, I get it at the same time. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes kids just do things and there's just nothing you can do. Anyway, so let's talk about what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine because we just saw it. And I mean, I saw it a couple days ago. I don't even know where to begin because it's just so perfect. It's so good.
I haven't been feeling well, and I've been slowly the last 2 weeks specifically really trying to get my head together, and part of it's physical health issues. The other part I think is just built up shit over the last few months, mental health wise. But so I saw it and I wasn't in the best state of mind when I saw it, but I still really enjoyed it and had a good time. It's very much what I expected, and somehow more cheesy. And that might just be because I was in a different mindset when I saw it. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm seeing it again this Saturday. But I had a really good time because, again, I didn't expect anything more than to have fun. I knew there were going to be cameos and surprises and all that, but I just went in to have fun. And I think having just that kind of level expectation really helped me still enjoy it, even when I wasn't in the right state of mind. So
I would say that I think one of the things that helped it in that immensely is it was very low stakes. And what I mean by low stakes is like, there's very few characters from this movie that obviously Disney has any intention of moving forward with. And I actually mentioned this on my Twitter because it's very interesting to me. I would be very interested to be a fly on the wall in that initial meeting with like Ryan Reynolds and the production team, where Disney says, these are the characters we're going to let you use, but these are the characters we're not going to let you use. Because there was a very clear absence of like 90%, 99% of like the B-list and up X-Men characters. Yes. Like the most A-list X-Men character we got outside of Wolverine and Deadpool, obviously, was like Pyro. So
and that you can't consider that A-list. That's being nice.
You can't consider that A-list. Now, this does track with kind of what Deadpool has set up as being like the redheaded stepchild of the X-Men, that like, he even set this up in earlier movies about like the fact that other X-Men just don't show up for him. Like, what the hell? Like, why can't they get a single A-lister? And I'm going to tell you right now, I guarantee you 1,000%, it has absolutely nothing to do with the actors, because you're not going to tell me that you're not going to tell me they couldn't get James Marsden on the phone. Like, I'm sorry, that man if there is a man who pops up in things randomly and it's just like, oh shit, James Marsden's here, that man's in everything. And it's no shade. Like, get your money, buddy. He was in Sonic. He was in the Sonic movie, guys. Okay. There's no way he said no. Like, right. And same with like Shawn Ashmore. Shawn Ashmore is not going to be like, no, I'm not going to come back and play Bobby. I would say the ones that they probably would have, I would say the ones that almost certainly did say no or were the closest to saying no would be like, Elliot Page isn't coming back to play Kitty, obviously. No, I don't think anyone blue is coming back. I think even if they reached out to anybody who played a blue character.
Well, no, they had the Frasier actor come back as Beast and the end credits for the Marvels.
Yeah, but that's a different story because he wasn't actually they did have him come back. They Kelsey Grammer. But it was only his voice. I'm talking about the people who actually had to get blue, like, Alan Cumming, Cody Smith-McPhee, Rebecca Romaine, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult. None of them were there. But again, first of all, I'm as a Nightcrawler fan who would have loved to have seen Nightcrawler in the movie. And granted, we did get like a quick little snippet in the very end, which we'll talk about that ending. I mean, we'll talk about that credit scene when we get to it. But I don't really see them having the money in the budget to like convince any of those people who literally cannot stop talking about how traumatized they were by the makeup to come back and do the makeup. It's just not gonna happen. They got Azazel somehow. I don't even know. I don't even know if the guy who originally played Azazel was even the guy who played Azazel in this movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It did look like him though. But yeah, I was both pissed to see him, and I was also just like, oh, well, he's in the trash. That makes perfect sense. Azazel should be in the trash.
Yeah, Azazel belongs in the trash. I really had no problem with him being there. And to be perfectly fair, like I actually appreciated Azazel being there because it added to like the diversity of like what mutants are and can be. Like, oh, the mutants can be weird looking too. So that I appreciated having him there for that. I'm looking to see who played him. Why? I mean, it might have been the original guy, but I also know the original guy who played him is he's like a Matthew Vaughn guy who like Matthew Vaughn. I don't know. There's some like story about like Matthew Vaughn puts him in like every single movie he has. I don't know if Lady Deathstrike was played by the original girl. Like, I think most of them were. I think Azazel still was. I think Lady Deathstrike was, which that's one thing I was a little sad about. I was like, oh, Lady Deathstrike, great. But we didn't really get hardly any like good close-ups with her or fighting. And then she got like destroyed so quickly once the final fight started. And I was just like, I mean, I'm not surprised she gets destroyed in the end, but like, what? Why that quick, man? Like, why did you do her this dirty? Again, Lady Deathstrike's not like a character I'm in love with or anything, but I took that offensively because again, like Lady Deathstrike, like
she and Wolverine had the thing Logan, and her and Logan fought. So I'm like, how the fuck can she handle Logan, but not like who was it? Like, who was it? I can't remember who ended her, but somebody ended her super quick. So I was kind of disappointed in that, but it happens,
Well, here's the thing about Lady Deathstrike. Number one, she dies in X2.
Oh no, that's a good point.
Or I mean,
I need to watch that again.
Yeah, like she dies, but it's. I mean, no. Here's the thing. She's a character like Wolverine and Deadpool that can't really die, but like they ended her pretty severely. I don't know if you remember how she dies. It's like one of my favorite deaths ever in anything is she gets like pumped full of adamantium. Remember, like Wolverine pumps her full of adamantium, and then she sinks to the bottom of the little pool. And when she hits her head hits the bottom of the pool, it like thunks. Like it makes the exact sound that I imagine Jack Dawson's frozen head makes when he gets to the bottom of the Titanic.
Yeah, that's
like
fucking brutal. Jesus. Yeah, I definitely it's coming back to me now that you said it. Fuck.
Yeah, and like she's got the adamantium coming out of her ride, so she's pretty much dead. The other thing I think we all need to remember is like X2 was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, how crazy is that? Like it's like I'm barely old enough to have seen it because like if you take like I'm 28, so you can do the math there, people. Have fun with that.
Yeah. So
sorry if I make you feel old.
So like a lot of these people who 20 years ago were in peak physical condition and could do a role like, and I'm not saying anything about the actress who played Lady Deathstrike, or I'm not saying anything about her because she was phenomenal and I'm sure she still is phenomenal, but let's be real, guys. A 20-something-year-old body cannot do the same things a 40-something-year-old body can do. And I will say that with experience. It is just the way it is, guys. People age.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely true. I also watch a lot of wrestling, though. Anybody that watches wrestling, like, that's true. And it's also crazy how much people can still do when they're 40, 50 something.
Like, oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And the thing is that they couldn't give everybody enough. They couldn't give everybody like a big thing. So, but the people who did get attention, I couldn't. Okay. Let's just start from the beginning because we're not going to go through this bit by bit, but
we literally can't. I mean, we're definitely going to cover everything because I mean, you can Google, I'm sure, like all the Easter eggs in the film, and so we're not going to go that in depth. We're not that. We're not those talented people. We're talented at rambling about other shit.
I do want to point out there's a lot of meta-ness in this movie. It is so meta.
Yes,
just the concept of the idea of his universe is ending, which is real because the Fox universe is ending. And and I also want to mention, like, Wade says that his intention is he wants to save his friends and family, but his other intention is he desperately wants his future where Thor is like cuddling him and cradling him. And
that was hilarious. I wonder if there actually will be follow-up to that in the long run, or if it's just going to be like a one-time funny thing. I'm very interested.
I would be very interested if Deadpool's like motivation for a future reference is just like, I got to get to that future where Thor is cuddling me. Like that's like his whole, like that's his whole goal. I thought that was great. And that was very on point for Deadpool. The whole scene in the beginning when he, beats up the TVA agents with Wolverine skeleton was pretty iconic. And the fact that it is done to Bye 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 by NSYNC. Like there are so many levels of how good that is, because I don't know if you guys are aware, Bye 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 by NSYNC, it's a song that people listen to and think it's about a relationship ending, but it's not. Bye 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 is not about a relationship ending. Bye 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 is about NSYNC breaking free of Lou Pearlman, who was their manager at the time, who was a pretty abusive manager. I actually just watched a documentary on it too, but it was about them breaking free of this abusive management situation and like going out on their own. And that's what Bye 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 is about. And so I see that. And again, this could be me just reading into things, but the experience for Ryan Reynolds to bring Deadpool to the screen was a very fraught one that he had to fight uphill a lot to get to, because they didn't believe that Deadpool was a marketable character that could work in a movie. And the only opportunity they gave him was when they put him in the Wolverine movie. And guys, we remember how shitty that was, right? So, and then when that bombed, they were like, well, guys, Deadpool doesn't work, so we're not going to do it. And so Ryan Reynolds actually put his own money into it to film that teaser to show the, you know, Fox that it would work. So I guess, I don't know, I'm seeing like this dichotomy of moving from a studio that like really, you know, really made him work hard for what proved to be the best, some of the best X-Men movies, anything, period. You know, and into moving into Disney now, where he's going to have, I'm assuming he's going to have a lot more creative control with Disney, because they did give him a lot of control. They let him do a lot of things in this movie.
I mean, he was one of 5 writers, which that's also what was interesting to me, is how many writers were credited with this film. Because if you know anything about how, you know, to get writing credit, like, you can technically write and give ideas to like films and TV shows and stuff and not get credited for up until a certain point. But once you hit a certain point, you have to get credited for it. And they had 5 people that were still credited. And I saw Zeb Wells on there. And that made me smile a bit, because I really liked his Hellions run with the X-Men. So that was fun.
And Zeb Wells, I don't know if you guys know this, Zeb Wells is or was married to Heidi Gardner from SNL.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're getting divorced or not. My niece Emerson just snuck in here, so I think she's gonna try and scare me. So you guys might hear from her.
Do it, Emerson.
But so yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: with that many cooks in the kitchen, that could really screw things up. But I don't know. There was like, the thing about this. There's very few movies where I go in and when I come out, I'm like, there's not much I could ask for more. That's how I felt with this movie. I really felt like there was not much more I could have asked for. Granted, there are plenty of things I would have wanted. I mean, I would have loved to have seen, you know, Nightcrawler, obviously. I would love to have seen Mystique. I would love to have seen all these different characters. Right. There was a very brief Wanda moment. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I let's talk about the cameos, because as far as cameos, I
want to start with one that's, I feel like, again, I haven't seen, so maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's probably not getting talked about as much. Was seeing Jennifer Garner come back as Elektra. That was one I would have never in 1,000 years have guessed.
Me neither.
I enjoyed seeing that. I wish they would have given her a little more, but to be honest, like, how much did she have in the original film she was in, the poor woman? So,
well, she had the original Daredevil, and there was an Elektra movie. I never saw the Elektra movie.
I was just thinking of Elektra. That's my fault. Yeah.
I saw that. So I saw the original Deadpool. Daredevil. I saw the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner when it came out on Valentine's Day, with my boyfriend at the time, who did not buy me a gift.
Oh my God.
I paid for the movie and dinner, and he didn't even buy me a damn gift.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, Deadpool.
That's why he's in the past. God damn.
Listen, Daredevil sucks for a lot of reasons, but, you know, that's one of them. But that was it was a terrible movie, but, you know, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, Jennifer Garner showing up was incredible. Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Oh, I think that was probably my favorite, because I was like, holy shit, like, I never thought he'd come back too. And while we're talking about him, I have to mention the part where he says the line and basically is looking directly in camera and says, "There will be no other Blade." I was like, that movie's never coming. He just told us we are never getting the new Blade ever.
Which, like, do we really need the new Blade? Let me tell you. Like, I mean, granted, like, do we need a new Blade? I don't need a new Blade. I didn't even see the original Blade.
I don't think we need one, but it would still be really cool, because I like Blade. I've seen the old ones, but the problem too is that, like, because again, it always goes back to the debate with stuff like this, right? Of, do you recast? Do you not recast? Blah, blah, blah. And there's so many people on this planet, so there's probably someone that could play a very great Blade, including who they originally casted for this newer Blade. But Wesley Snipes is just so good, man. He lives and breathes Blade when he plays the role. It's incredibly hard to even match that, you know? So I don't know. I'd like to see it, but
the other thing too is that Wesley Snipes is like James Marsden. He'll cameo anytime he wants. And this is not the first time he's cameoed as Blade. Like, he played Blade a couple of years ago in the What We Do in the Shadows TV show. Like, he played Blade. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I love this. And if I will probably get a lot of pushback from people. I want Ryan Reynolds in charge of the MCU X-Men. It's this level of camp but that can also still give such grace and dignity and like such and have such a good capture of the character. He's very good. He knows what he's doing with these characters. I was so impressed with every character he did. I got to get to my biggest cameo, which was Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that shit, that's actually the one that caught me most off guard after Elektra. And I think you and I already talked about this just personally, but when I saw him come out, I was like, holy fucking shit. And then I was also like, holy fucking shit, I can see why they didn't do it in terms of like the costume, like, and how his head fit into it. I was like, I can't take him seriously.
It's a ridiculous costume.
It is. And maybe that was the point of it. But anyways, it was cool to see him as it. He was fun, but I also went back and forth on the voice he did. Maybe it was because it was Channing Tatum and I couldn't take it seriously, but it was very fun to see him like that. So I have been one of the only people for years, ever since he announced he was going to play Gambit, who has been like 100% gung-ho, let him play Gambit. And the reason being is because of Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, because you can see when an actor has this incredible connection to a character, they will do things for that character that others might not do. You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, if he wants the opportunity and like there's nobody else is lining up to play Gambit, so just let him fucking do it. And I can tell, like, I have a feeling that the way this went down was this. Basically, they were like, we're going to do Channing Tatum as Gambit, but we're going to do it. We're going to go all fucking in. And we're going to do it as comic book accurate as possible, which is why he looks ridiculous in that costume, because it's a fucking ridiculous costume. Guys, right.
Can we all agree? Like, this is the funny thing that people talk about. So we've talked about this. We talked about this with Stephanie Williams, I think, last week. But when it comes to the costumes in comic book movies, this has been such a fraught you guys have to understand, this is like a 30-year conversation about these fucking costumes in comic book movies. Because, and again, we touched on this last week, essentially the reason there's a joke in the first X-Men movie about yellow spandex. And the reason is because they specifically avoided comic book accurate costumes because it had just come off of the Schumacher Batman movies that were panned for being the most ridiculous looking Technicolor LSD dreams in the world, which again also weren't comic accurate. So it's like, but what they were doing was, because it was what happened with Schumacher was so bad, they were just like, okay, we got to go the exact opposite and we got to make this make sense. We have to make this make sense in our world. And you guys have to think about the world we were in when these movies came out. This was like early 2000. X-Men came out in 2000. Spider-Man came out right around the same. No, Spider-Man came out in 2001, because I remember very, very specifically there was a World Trade Center scene in the first Spider-Man movie. I think it was the first one, that they had to cut out because of 9/11. So it's just, the world was it was a very different world back then. And you can't really, everybody likes to look back on the original Fox movies and Sony movies with these rose-colored MCU glasses on. And it's like, you guys, what the MCU has done in the past, 20 years, less than that. The MCU has been around since 2008. It's close to 20 years. Jesus Christ, close to 20 years.
Right.
What the MCU has done, it couldn't have been done without what came before it, which were the X-Men movies, which was the Spider-Man movies. These were the things that proved that there was, an audience for it, and that this could happen. These movies had to, they had to come from somewhere. And when people, poo-poo the earlier Fox movies and Sony movies, because of the MCU, it's like, well, we wouldn't have the MCU if not for that. So I just have so much to say about this movie, but I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like, even though we've been talking for 30 minutes already, like, it's just, there's so much that there's so many little Easter eggs, so many things to find. I guarantee you, once we finish filming, I'm going to have 5,000 other things I meant to say that I'm going to be pissed off I forgot to say.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of thing, like you said, when you have a film that's so meta, there's always going to be so much to talk about, and whether it's positive, negative, or whether you're kind of just like, what the fuck was that? There's a lot to unpack in that film, and I think that was completely intentional. I was really, one thing I really liked, that that surprised me was Cassandra Nova, because originally I was kind of like, oh, why is this bitch in this film? And I was worried she was going to be a very like kind of one-dimensional villain, and I was like, I'm not here for that. But I don't know the actress's name, the actor's name. I believe they're non-binary. Someone told me. Yeah,
I want to say Emma Caulfield, but I don't know. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I think they're non-binary. Someone told me, in one of the discords I'm in.
Emma Corrin. That's it.
I was saying Emma Caulfield. I was like, it can't be that, because I would recognize that. Emma Caulfield was Anya and Buffy. I would recognize her. But yeah, the actor that played Cassandra Nova, utterly fantastic, and the rendition of Cassandra Nova, that's honestly probably the most I've ever appreciated Cassandra Nova as a character. The actor just did a great job selling her to me, and yeah, I was very nicely surprised.
Okay, I'm looking her up right now. I can't believe this. This is the girl who played Princess Diana in The Crown. And
okay.
First of all, like, she looks so different because she looks so much like Princess Diana when she was in The Crown. I think she plays like young Princess Diana that gets married to, she plays the young one who gets married to like when she first gets married to Prince Charles. Like, totally different character, but I mean, both were phenomenally done. I will say one thing with Cassandra Nova. Oh, by the way, she's the same age as you. She's 28.
Woo! I have great hope for me.
One thing I will say about Cassandra Nova is like, so there are certain characters in X-Men that like kind of make my spine tingle, like, because they're that dangerous and they're that deadly. And I always felt like Cassandra Nova was one of them to me. Like, that was why when Cassandra Nova, like when in Marauders, they decided to make her an X-Man, I was like, what the, like, of all the characters to allow to join the X-Men, Cassandra Nova? Right. So yeah, I thought she was a little bit less, she was a little bit more camp than dangerous, but at the same time, but I didn't care. I didn't mind it.
Well, I liked that because, again, Cassandra Nova as a character, she has so, like, she's literally so fucked in the head, basically. Yeah. And it's not even completely her fault, with her and Xavier fighting in the womb and basically her losing, but she somehow survives and all this shit. So I actually appreciate that take on her, because she wasn't just like, the Joker cackling away 24/7, but she definitely did have this kind of fucked up sense of humor. And I really appreciate too that they kind of hit on something that's important to her character, or at least that I know of, from the X-Men Red comic in 2018 that Tom Taylor did, which is that series had a very cheesy ending, but worked for me, where basically Jean Grey's able to, basically disarm Cassandra Nova of her own volitions because she fills her with so much empathy. And at one point, that's basically how Logan and Wade, survive her, is they trigger her empathy, and you can kind of see, she, anyways, that, of course it goes away once she goes to the portal, because she's like, fuck all this shit. But she had that empathy enough for a second. And that was really interesting to me.
The other thing they do that also Tom Taylor does is they talk about the Magneto helmet, because at the end of Red, that's a big thing, is using the Magneto helmet to defeat Cassandra Nova, which of course in Deadpool and Wolverine, they use Juggernaut's helmet, which is the same thing. Essentially.
It's a psychic helmet.
Yeah. And I do love that we brought back the Vinnie Jones Juggernaut. I mean, just so many of the characters, it's just so ridiculous. We had, Sabretooth, and we got to have, I loved I don't know what other people say, I loved the Sabretooth and Wolverine fight, because it's always been that kind of thing where it's like, Wolverine has literal, like, knives coming out of his knuckles. Like, come on, you can't just cut off Sabretooth. Like, I loved that.
I think that was on purpose. That was probably like, all right, we've heard all those criticisms, let's go ahead and do it for fun. And then I thought it was very clever how they did Chris Evans' cameo, and how at first you're kind of like, is he like a scruffy, like, Cap? What's going on? And all of a sudden he goes flame on, basically, and he's Johnny Storm. That was really funny. And then the first end credit scene, I think, where Deadpool's like, I'm gonna prove to you this little shit said this shit. I'm gonna prove to you he did. And then you're seeing the guy who played Captain America saying all this nasty shit, and it was hilarious.
It's just, okay. I need to speak on this from a point of nostalgia, and we're going to touch on we haven't even talked about X-23. I mean, she was in it too, and she was fucking phenomenal.
Laura, yes. And I loved that they corrected. So they're like, yeah, she comes from X-23. Again, we're not trying to wipe her history, but she's Laura. And, Wade's comment of like, yeah, that's like calling Logan or somebody like so-and-so. And it's like, exactly. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see her because they keep her at the end too. We get her back, which is great. So I think it's very intentional they've done that, and that hopefully we'll get to see her become Wolverine as well, because eventually Hugh Jackman's actually going to have to fully retire it. Eventually, at least in terms of the fighting Wolverine stuff, he can still cameo as Logan in like chiller scenes, but eventually he's gonna have to retire the fighting shit.
I disagree with you. Well, he's not
gonna be around forever, Lisa. Is he gonna be dead and do it?
Girl. Here's the thing. I'm not disagreeing with you that he's not coming back as Wolverine. I do believe he's done with Wolverine. I think we'll get a cameo or two out of him over the years, but I think we're not going to get another full movie of him as Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you.
I agree. Well, no, I have no issue with, I'm saying Laura's going to become Wolverine. I think that we're going to, because again, I thought they were going to kill Logan at the end or have him go somewhere and be done. Like when he was walking away from Wade, I was like, cool, they're doing separation, but then they're still all together. So I think, like you said, either it's going to be a slightly longer cameo and then maybe a few small ones after that. But they need to set up, because they've set up the beginnings of the transition, but they haven't fully done the transition of Logan to Laura. So they still need to do that.
Yeah. The reason I say that, like, that man will probably be able to fight and do all that stuff until his dying day. He's a Broadway actor. Did you guys see Dick Van Dyke at the Tonys freaking dancing around? Like, I mean, the man's in his 90s. The man's in his 90s and he can still dance. So if Dick Van Dyke can do it, Hugh Jackman can freaking do it.
Dancing is a lot. No discredit to dancing. Literally none. Yeah. And doing like fighting and getting in that ripped shape that he's still gotten again, which involves like starving yourself. Like he starves himself for that shit. Eventually, I mean, to be fair, I was amazed that they even got him back. Like Ryan Reynolds really probably pulled out all the stops to get Hugh back. He was like, brother, this is why it's worth it. Come on, man. Like, I really need you to make this work. So, because he hated that. Hugh's been and I don't blame him. He's been very open about how hard that diet and everything is to look like that.
I will say, what's funny is, I saw Hugh Jackman a couple of years ago in The Music Man, on Broadway. My Nana loves Hugh Jackman. She's 94 this year, I think. And so I took her to see The Music Man, and I remember we saw it was the last week of shows, so it was like the last week that we went to see him, and my Nana was like, "He's too buff, too many muscles, too buff." But it was because he was just starting to train back to become Wolverine.
Oh, I'm
trying to explain that to her, like, Nana, well, he's gonna be Wolverine again. She's like, well, too buff. I don't like it. That's not my thing.
I don't care.
Yeah. But oh my goodness. So, okay, let's talk nostalgia, because I cried my goddamn ass off during those end credits. Like, cried. And it reminded me, I want to say one thing. The Fox X-Men movies have gotten a lot of shit over the past couple of years. A lot of shit. And especially as the MCU has just made some really good movies and done some really good things with the characters. Of course, people are going to compare, right? Right. That being said, Ryan Reynolds could have very easily, and he kind of jokes about it, like where he's like, "Fuck you, Fox, I'm going to Disney." Like, he could have very easily kind of played into that of, that kind of like, fuck Fox is over, whatever. But that end credits montage was so heartwarming and touching. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional now. Like, because for me, so X1, the very first X-Men movie, came out the weekend of my 18th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, literally, we went to see it for my 18th birthday. And that was that. When X2 came out, I was enormous Nightcrawler fan. Me and my friend, we actually went to the screen printing studio and we broke in at college and we made shirts. I made a BAMF shirt. She made a stick shirt. Yes. We made shirts to wear to the X2 premiere that I went to with a bunch of my friends. X3, I drove to Washington, D.C. to see X3 with a bunch of people from the Nightcrawlers message board. If you guys are out there listening, hey girls, what's up? It's just, I guess the point I'm making is, these movies were a very important part of my life. And it's not because of the movies, it's the things that I attached to them and the experience I had around them. And the X-Men have been very big part of my life for a long time. It's 2024, 20 years ago. literally 20 years ago, this past weekend was when I went to San Diego Comic-Con for the very first time with a bunch of my friends from Nightcrawlers. You know what I mean? It's like,
Nice.
this has been such an important part of my life. And I know that many other people out there. So for me, it was kind of emotional to watch them kind of do that and to go back and revisit in the beginning. And it was just, I was very nostalgic. I got very emotional. I thought it was a beautiful tribute to really these movies that changed the course of, superhero movie history and are the reason why we have what we have today. We would not have this unbelievable MCU and even like the DCU. We wouldn't have any of that without this. So
yeah, and I appreciate you sharing all that, and I agree in terms of like the fact that they can still make fun of the Fox films, and there are plenty of reasons to do that, and you can still show appreciation for all they did, what they were in many ways. And again, it's this idea of, and like both these things are true and exist at the exact same time, rather than, oh, well, the X-Men, I can only say the Fox movies were amazing, or I can say they're terrible. No, they can be both in different ways. And I think that's very cool of, the whole team on the Deadpool and Wolverine film to kind of honor that. And, specifically they honored the X-Men ones quite a bit. It seemed like they had some Fantastic Four in there too and such. But I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, everything, just comes from that place of, like you said, nostalgia, but also, you have to honor from where you've come from, even if it was kind of a low barrel thing or whatever. So I completely agree. And it was a very surprising, but very welcome, added touch to the film.
Absolutely. It added a little heart to the end that was unexpected. Yeah. And not that the movie didn't have heart. The movie had a lot of heart. It just, that ending, it really was a nail in the head for me. All right, we've got to talk about Deadpool Corpse because, a couple different things. We got to talk about Henry Cavill Wolverine. We're just going to touch on this briefly.
That shit was hilarious.
That was amazing.
Okay, I think that speaks to a lot of things too, because he was so screwed by the DCU, Henry Cavill, like by all intents and purposes, to our public knowledge, he was screwed. And they even made like Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool makes a joke about that in the film too. And he had no problem coming to do that little scene. I mean, like that's a win for like the MCU in any way. The fact that they could get a guy that got so screwed by the other man, to come back and just do one scene too. It's not like they gave him a lot, be like, oh, we'll give you way better than DCU. But
so here's the thing. I have a feeling that like there's a lot, I have a feeling there's a lot of quid pro quo going on. The reason being is number one, Channing Tatum is like the god of cameos, because that man has never had a cameo in a movie that I did not like thoroughly enjoy more than the movie itself. He has a cameo in This Is the End of the World, which if you have not seen that movie, go watch it. It's stupid. It's a fun romp, and his cameo is like the best part of the entire movie. With Danny McBride. It's brilliant. He's got a cameo in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. That's the thing. Yeah, I have a feeling that his Free Guy cameo, because his Free Guy cameo kind of came out of nowhere. It was very like, what? Why is Channing Tatum in this?
So Channing Tatum, he made a post. I don't know if it was today when we're recording or the day before, but I just saw it where he posted this long ass, paragraph and all these pictures, basically, saying he owes Ryan Reynolds everything, and that like 10 years ago, I think they took a picture together at some Comic-Con, and then 10 years to the day he's after he gets cast as Gambit in this film, and like he just seems so fucking happy he got to do it, because that's basically what he says. He's just like, I never thought I'd actually get to do Gambit and all this stuff, but Ryan actually gave me the shot, and thank you. So he really wanted to do it.
So I mean, before the merger with Disney, the Gambit movie was looking like it was going to happen, because he even appeared at Comic-Con a couple of years ago. This is one of my favorite Channing Tatum stories, guys. Sorry about this, but I'm just going to tell it. He was at Comic-Con several years ago. This was when Stan Lee was still alive, and they were doing this big announcement of like the next it had to be before Dark Phoenix. Like they're doing the big announcement of like the next like level, like the next phase of X-Men movies from Fox. And Channing Tatum was there to talk about Gambit, and he's even wearing a Gambit shirt.
Yeah.
And they bring it at the very end of it, they bring Stan Lee out, and Stan Lee says something, but like this is very close to the end of Stan Lee's life. And I've dealt with working in art. We deal with a lot of older artists who, you know, are not necessarily all there anymore. And he was clearly one of, you know, he clearly had his issues with dementia towards the end of his life and whatever else. And there's a part at the very end of it where, you know, everybody's clapping and everybody on stage is kind of like talking to each other and congratulating each other. And you can see Stan Lee is like on the stage, but he doesn't know where to go or what to do. He's just standing there. And Channing Tatum, oh my God, this man. Channing Tatum comes over to him and like gently helps him get off the stage. I'm just like, oh my God, why are you such a perfect person? Why is everything about you amazing? I just love him so much. And the 21 Jump Street movies are freaking perfection too. So go watch them. Anyway.
Yeah. Those are really, I would highly recommend those as well. They're pretty funny.
Yeah. So Deadpool core, we had Lady Deadpool, we had Dogpool.
By the way, Lady Deadpool was Blake Lively, yes, and I'm a little salty she didn't get to take her mask off. I understand for character purposes why, but I wanted to see her face in the suit, damn it.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was. I mean, I think everybody knew it was going to be Blake Lively. Like what, you know, like you know. But Matthew McConaughey played Cowboy Deadpool. Nathan Fillion played Headpool, which was the Deadpool on a head, like a little. And I love that. Peter is like their nexus being is Peter.
He united all of them. Yeah.
That's so great. And I love that Peter has enormous balls when he's wearing a Deadpool suit. He's got no cock, all balls. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this movie. But again, like we're going to end here and I'm going to be like, I got so much more to say.
I loved Dogpool. Dogpool is amazing. I think Dogpool should star with Deadpool the next film. I love Deadpool.
One other thing. I did post this on Twitter, but like that scene where the Deadpool core shows up, did anybody else get that feeling like you were at Comic-Con again? Because if there's one thing at Comic-Con, it's 1,000 people dressed up as Deadpool. And let me tell you, this year is going to be even crazier because you know there are going to be people doing Deadpool core. Guys, I already have possibly a plan for a Deadpool core cosplay that I might end up doing at Comic-Con. We'll see.
Yes.
If I do it, I'll take plenty of pictures and you all can come find me. And my only issue is that like, if there's one thing I absolutely despise, there are two things I hate when it comes to cosplay. It's too much makeup, which is like, I will never do a character that I love Nocturne. I'll never do Nocturne because I'm never going to paint myself blue. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not Rebecca Romaine. I'm not fucking Jennifer Lawrence. I'm not painting myself blue. I'm sorry.
Right.
And I also am not a big fan of like gloves and masks. So if I end up doing this Deadpool core character, I can see myself wearing it for maybe an hour and then being really sick of it because I hate
it's okay. You take all the pictures in the world and it looks like you wore it for 3 days. Who cares?
Exactly, because I hate gloves. I hate masks. I one time was dressed as Dark Phoenix on a cruise and I had to go to dinner and it had like the gloves were built into the costume. Oh my God, that was the worst. I hated it. So anyway, but yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, if you haven't seen it, go see it. I mean, at this point, if you haven't seen it, it's been out like 2 weeks by the time this comes out. So like, what are you doing? How do you listen to this podcast and you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine already? Go now.
Yeah, go. Absolutely. I completely agree. And I'm gonna go see it again. So there you go. That means it's still very fun. I wanted to
see it again too.
Yes, I know. I'm excited to see what else you find, Lisa, because I know you're gonna find like 10 other things I don't. So
there's just so much. There's so many. It's so hard, and like that's what I'm so excited about seeing it again is just the thousands of. Oh, and also like I love Pyro taking out Johnny Storm the way he did because it kind of proves like don't fuck with a mutant, guys. Don't fuck with the mutants are gonna get you every time.
It's true. Don't fuck with mutants. I love it.
Mutants are gonna get you. Mutants are gonna get you.
I love it. Before we wrap this episode up, I wanted to take the time to just kind of rapid fire answering a few of your Twitter questions that we were like, we're gonna get to these. And then it's been like 2 or 3 weeks and we're still behind. So I wanted to make sure we got to them, you guys. We're not ignoring you, I promise.
Can I just talk about like I have ADHD? I don't know if Lauren has ADHD, but like this is so ADHD.
Girl, you told me. You're like, Lauren, you have it. And I was like, I guess you're right.
You probably do. the reason I say this is like, this is so ADHD of us, where it's like, guys, we don't know what to record. So like, what do you guys want to hear? Do you guys, let's answer some questions. And then we're like, oh shit, we have 5 other things we need to record. Yeah. We're very ADHD. So apologies for that, but we try and work it out.
Yeah. But
we're also going to have our friend back on, who gave us that Winding Way, thing. He wants to come back on and talk about the Soul Sword. So we're going to have him on the next couple
Hell
weeks.
yeah.
That was a good
one.
It.
More learning. I love it. Okay. So let's see. Natalie Dan at TwittyNat82 on Twitter asked, who would Kurt be a good mentor to? I like how Cy Spurrier wrote him in Pixie and how he was utterly bewildered when she got herself killed and resurrected for the experience. He even made her a sandwich, I think, but she forgot she wanted it. Are there many Young Mutants left? So who would Kurt be a good mentor to specifically?
I like his mentorship of Pixie. I think that it's a good fit because they both have the physical mutation thing, they both have the teleportation thing, and they both have like magic in their background. Alternatively, I loved it was only one issue, but like his mentorship of Enole, however the frick you say it, in an Amazing X-Men was really good. Just that idea of, I think the important thing for him is like he would be a good mentor to any mutant who is feeling unsure of like their physical mutation, because because that's where his, like, as far as mutantness goes, like his strength is his his self-confidence in who he is. And like, he's said several times, like, if given the choice and I could be normal, I would not take it, because he loves who he is. And I think that any mutant who needs that is where Kurt would be the most helpful, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's not any one person I can think of, to be honest. But yeah, I think anybody that, needs a kind of boost, helping to learn to love themselves, which, to be fair, are most mutants, but everybody's perspective is kind of different. So I think he could honestly be a great mentor to a majority of, people, mutants especially. It just, he just doesn't have time to mentor everyone. And some people, and everybody's got different styles. So I don't necessarily know who he would fit in terms of mentor style, because, for example, if you think of like how Kurt might mentor a young mutant versus like Storm or Jean or Scott, they're all going to look very different, even stupid Scott, even he has value in mentoring people at times. So
sure.
Listen, Lisa, I'm meeting the Scott fans halfway today. All right.
I'm not even going halfway, guys. All right. You're gonna have to come meet me. All right. Your boy got our boy killed. Let's put it that way.
All right. Jug, who was on our podcast in the past episode,
Jug.
How about Nightcrawler random crack ships? Any character from any medium who should date Kurt? I still think Kurt and Supergirl should date now. I don't care if it lasts forever. I'm putting them both together because it's a perfect, like, 5-star match. All right. Other than the Super Corp stands will get mad at me because Kurt's not a woman. Listen, it's just dating. All right. Kara is like hella pan bi. She does not care about gender. Take a nap.
All right. I'm going to go out and I'm going to throw this out there crazy. Barbie.
I love it. Supported. I'm here for it. But which one? Stereotypical Barbie? Like the main one of the film, or somebody else?
Barbie in general. I mean, like, let's be real. Ken is not doing it, guys. Ken is not doing it. Oh.
Listen, I think Kurt could be the modern upgrade for Kens. Like, you have the OG Kens, but then Kurt comes in and he's the next step up. He's like the next evolution. Because he have to evolve too. Women, we can't do it all.
Can I just point this out, guys? That technically the X-Men exist in Barbie universe, because there are X-Men Barbies. There are 3 X-Men Barbies. There's a Mystique, a Jean Grey, and a Storm. So like, Barbie and X-Men exist in the same continuity.
Barbie X-Men film supported. Make it happen.
Could you even imagine? Oh my god,
that would make so much money. I don't care what anybody says. People are like, X-Men by itself, yes. Barbie by itself, put them together. I don't know, bro. Everybody's going to see it. Like, people keep proving this shit. Like, people just want good, fun shit with stuff they like in films and TV. That's how you do stuff. But it's good. It's fun. You're not pandering to audiences. You're just doing good shit, man.
Do you know, I just had this thought that one thing that was missing from Deadpool and Wolverine, other than I already posted about the the cover of Wolverine. Do you know what they really should have done? That would have made me so happy, but I just, they really should have given us comic accurate Mystique.
Yes.
I would have lost my goddamn mind if Mystique showed up with like the skulls all over her. If we had gotten comic accurate Mystique, I mean, it wouldn't have made sense actually.
You know
now that I
what?
think about it.
It would have been fun. It would have also been hard though, because my ass would have been like, where's Kurt? Where's Rogue again? Where's Destiny? If you bring one of them in, the whole family's got to be there. So I can't blame them, because I would demand the whole family there.
See, that's another person I was surprised not to see was Anna Paquin, but I have a feeling I feel like she's retired. I feel like she's like done.
Yeah,
she's having her vampire babies.
It would have been nice to see her again, especially considering her and Logan, like in the films, they had such a strong relationship. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't really know much about this specific Logan and his relationship with anyone, because he's
just like grr, arg, I'm emo, which is kind of just Logan too. So, all right, let's see. Oh, here's one that's related to the film that we've been talking about. Jug also asked, do you actually think Nightcrawler and Johnny Storm could make a cute couple? I don't, but that's because Johnny's a mess. Sorry, Johnny fans. I'm not saying I hate the guy, but he's a mess of a character for a reason, in my opinion.
I just don't like, Jug, what are you smoking? I'm like so confused. Like, where did you even come up? Like, I get that Jug is a big fan of Nightcrawler and he's also a big Fantastic Four fan, but like, of the Fantastic Four, like Johnny is the last one I would ever put Kurt with. I feel like
he would just try to take Sue from Reed, like he keeps 100%. Trying to do with like Captain Britain and Megan. Like he's just like, oops, sorry, it's not my fault. And Brian's just like, fuck off.
That reminds me, going back to just on the last note about Johnny, and I hate to say this, I am an old school like Spider-Man and his friends, Iceman and Johnny Storm shipper. Like, I don't know why, I just love them together. So, but there's something else about the fire and ice thing that I don't know. Because I loved when they had like new Pyro and Bobby hooked up. I loved that in X-Men Gold, I think. I just thought of something I need to talk about really quickly. We touched on Henry Cavill as Wolverine, right? I think it's clear he's not going to be Wolverine in the new MCU. However, he has mentioned what his dream character would be in the MCU, and they did announce this character is going to be coming. Do you know who it is? Captain Britain.
Yeah, he could do it before.
I would love Henry Cavill to play Captain. He would be such a perfect Captain Britain. Because if there's one thing Captain Britain needs to be, it's like model gorgeous. That's the whole point. He's got to be like the most gorgeous man in the entire world.
Yeah, the other thing though is that because here's the thing, Henry Cavill, he, at least what he's been conditioned to play by what he's typecast as for his roles, he often plays as like brooding, like emo guys. And don't get me wrong, like I'm sure but Brian's not the brooding emo guy all the time.
He is though.
But he has to look a lot different to the people behind closed doors. He can go back into that or with certain people, but to the face, he's still looking. He's acting like he's all high and mighty.
But, see, the thing is I feel like that's where Henry Cavill would be really good, because he played Superman, and Superman's kind of a similar character in that way.
Well, you know? But he also played like depending on who you are. I'm not trying to get into the Zack Snyder shit. Calm down, everyone. But depending on who you are, he played more of a muted Superman, with, but I, like you said, I think the potential's there. I'm not saying it isn't. I would just be very interested to actually see what that looks like. And I hope that whoever would be directing him for whatever film or whatever it is would not be afraid to pull that out of him, because like this whole like everybody's emo all the time shit with superheroes, that's gotta stop. Like, yes, we got our emo dark shit, don't get me wrong, but everybody, it's gotta stop.
No, I agree. Like there needs to be it's like if we have our two poles of superhero movies, I would say our two poles of superhero movies are like, they're Batman. It's either it goes from Christopher Nolan all the way to Joel Schumacher. We need to find something in the middle. Yes. Something nice and center in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Like we need the Goldilocks of superhero films. And we had it for a little bit, I would say, with the MCU. Despite what some people want to say, it clearly had its success that put it on the scale it's on. But now it's like, how do you find a form of that success again, but also, keeping up with the modern times. Because, things are changing so fast, especially socially. Things are still, even if it doesn't feel like it, they're changing very fast based on, how long humans have been around, and even just, this country and things like that. So it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say, like, for those of you who are listening and you are relatively new to comics, I'm noticing this on Reddit as people are, especially as the X-Men are becoming more out there in the world, in the MCU specifically. I'm noticing people are like you don't have to watch it all and you don't have to read it all.
Correct.
Someone posted this on Reddit recently about like how crazy they think X-Men comics are because there are so many of them, and like how can people afford to read all these comics? And it's like we don't read them.
No, absolutely not. I mean, some people like are batshit crazy or have the financial means or whatever and do and can. Yeah, there's no way.
It's impossible.
No.
It's not, and and here's the thing, to read them all, it's not enjoyable because they're not all good. And I'm not saying, and this has nothing to do with
they're not. That's a fact.
And it has nothing to do with whether or not that's actual quality work. It's more like some it could be the best work in the world, but if I don't like it, I don't like it. So there you go. So just, that's the thing. Like for me, I look at the MCU the same way I look at comics, in that I'm going to watch what I want to watch and I'm going to ignore the shit I don't care about. So like,
amen. Thank you.
Like I haven't really watched any of the Marvel TV shows since like I watched WandaVision and I watched the first season of Loki. That's really it. And I'll watch Agatha because I am holding on to everything that we're going to get Margali. Like, I really hope that they're going to give us Margali. Like
that would be like, you know what? Manifest that shit, Margali and Wanda and Agatha. Because if we fucking get Margali, we're on the right track, Lisa. Ours, yours, all these manifestations, they're coming. It's just
it would just be because it would just be wonderful to see X-Men characters that aren't necessarily mutants, but that fit into the greater Marvel universe actually start fitting in. Like that would be really great, because there are so many characters that, I mean, obviously, Margali's not a mutant, but there's a reason why she has not been anywhere, because she is an X-Men character. I'm trying to remember the rule. There was an actual rule that came out when the MCU started. There was, I want to say the deadline is 2006 or 2008, but essentially the rule was any character that had debuted or had only really appeared in an X-Men comic up until that point was for Fox only. And after that point, it was only mutants. So if you had a human character debut in an X-Men comic, it didn't matter because they could be in the MCU. Fox can't have them. But if it was a mutant character, it was for Fox. Very weird situation. But that's all over now. We don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. They're all under Disney. And give us cartoons. More cartoons.
Yes. No, facts. Absolutely. And the last one we had was from John Klein on Twitter at Jackals3.
Hey, John.
Maybe a list of Nightcrawler stories to read, as Uncanny is almost out. Yes, Uncanny X-Men is coming out very, very soon, which is crazy because it's coming out on my birthday, which means my birthday is soon, so I don't know what to do with that. But the good news is our friend of the pod, even if, she knows it because she tweeted us. She hasn't been on the pod yet because she's impossible to reach, apparently. I say very lovingly and professionally.
Listen, she was
very hard.
She's hanging out with friends of the pod, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds recently. So
I know. She's a star, man. She's doing the best, but she's writing it. And I would say, honestly, I would just say keep it simple, because this new story with After Krakoa, it's kind of a fresh start, I think. So I won't worry too much about like reading stuff for story beyond, like, if you haven't read like the X-Men Blue Origins or whatever it was that retconned stuff for Kurt's parentage, make sure you do that if you somehow have not. I would still recommend reading that. I would also recommend reading I believe the 70s, maybe 80s Nightcrawler, like 4-issue, I think, series it was that Cochran did.
84
because I'm manifesting that Gail's going to get Kurt a little more on track, away from this religious, zealous cult shit. He's so religious and all that, of course, but we're going to get him back more to the fun-loving, kind of more piratey Kurt.
Yeah, I agree.
And you get a lot of that in that series. So those are really the only two things I would say, like, truly read beforehand. I mean, if you want, you can go back and listen to our episodes covering that 12-issue, like 2000s Nightcrawler series as well. That one's darker though. But if you just want some Kurt to read to get you ready in general for all the sides of Kurt.
I'm trying to think of good stories with Kurt and Rogue, but there's just not a lot of them.
Honestly, I don't know any specific stories that revolve specifically around them. I know there's moments and times, but
there's one story where Mystique, there's one story where I think the cartoon actually did it too, but there is one story where Rogue is in a situation where she has to choose between saving Mystique or Nightcrawler, and Mystique makes the choice for her and like lets go of her so that she has to, so she saves Nightcrawler. And like there's a part in that scene where Rogue is like she's like flying away holding on to Nightcrawler, and she's like having this moment where she's just like, you know, Mama made the choice for me. I'm just don't like I'm like racked with guilt that I don't know that I would have made the same choice she made. So but I don't know what issue that was, but I can remember the panels. But yeah, like that's what I'm excited to see is like more of that family dynamic between them and everything. I mean, if you haven't read the Claremont one-shot story from, what issue was that from? Recently, there's the Claremont, it was the big issue that came out
the Uncanny X-Men 700. He's got a story in that. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good little story.
That too. You're right.
And that's a good story that will give you an idea of like where their heads are at right now with everything that's happened. So yeah, I think those would be really good ones. I mean, listen, go back and read some Excalibur, because why not? It's always great. I would say though, if you can find anything that has Rogue and Nightcrawler in it together, that might give us more of an idea of where this is going to go, because we got both those characters. There's also that one issue where Nightcrawler steals Gambit's sandwich, so Gambit blows Nightcrawler's ass up.
Yeah, there's also I can't remember which issue it was, but there's an issue in the Krakoa era where like Destiny, Gambit, and Rogue are all hanging out, and Destiny and Gambit keep bickering. That's a lot of fun too, because Gambit's in the series too. So there you go.
Yeah, Gambit is in the series, and I'm a big Gambit fan. If you haven't read the Fabian Nicieza Gambit series from the 90s, it is so good. It is so good. So I highly recommend it. Why not read that too? Don't read the Rogue origin story from the 2000s because it sucks.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, please. Yeah, no, just that's
amazing.
What I got for you guys.
There you go. I mean, those are some great reading options.
Yeah, go back and read the Draco. How about that?
No, burn it. Do a bonfire with it.
Seriously.
Maybe you open up the Brimstone dimension.
Yeah, we'll open up the Brimstone dimension and shove you in there. All right. Well, my nieces are getting restless. I can tell. They've already come in and interrupted us several times.
I know. And I think a lot of our listeners are ADHD. So the fact you guys have stuck around for like an hour with us, like you guys are really simply amazing. Because I know you guys are just like spending two with us.
That's it. Well, guys, let's just put it this way. This is a great episode for reflection as we've reflected over the past 20 something years. And I just want to say that, as we reflect, guys, it's been almost 3 years now that we've been on this podcast. And that's a lot of fun.
Jesus, it has. That's crazy.
I know, right? Almost 3 years. And we've already had our very first big creator guest, which was Stephanie Williams last week, which we are so thrilled and so excited for. That was a good time. That was a really good time.
Yes, she's awesome. I love her. She comes, in case you guys want to know as well, Stephanie Williams, she goes, because I think she lives around the area. So she's at Heroes Con like every single year. So if you're ever like, I want to meet her, she'll be at Heroes Con like every single year until that.
I need to come down there for Heroes Con.
Get your ass down here. Yeah.
I need to come down for Heroes Con one of these days. When is the next Heroes Con? It's in June, isn't it?
Yeah, next June. Yeah. So we'll see. That's one thing. You gotta get down here for Heroes Con. I gotta make my way up to New York Comic Con and survive it somehow one year. So
New York Comic Con is the only one bigger is SDC is San Diego. And I've been to both. I prefer New York because I don't have to fly.
No, amen. I don't blame you.
Yeah. And honestly, to be honest, the other thing too is I find that New York is way more comic focused, whereas San Diego is way more Hollywood focused. Like that
makes sense.
Yeah. And for me, I got to be honest, like I don't need to meet any of them. I don't need, listen, I wouldn't mind meeting Chris Hemsworth, but I don't need to. You know what I mean? I don't need
that's why I kind of learned that as I got older too with cons, because everybody's like, I want to meet this person, this one. And majority of the time I have, even if it would be cool to meet them, I don't really have a desire to go on my way to meet these celebrities. Because at the end of the day, like we put them on these pedestals, but they're the same as us, but with a lot more money and possibly privilege and all these other things. So it's like,
Well,
but there's a few people that like, if I had the chance, like, you know, I might want to see, but I keep that short, like 3 or less people, like, because I'm also broke. So,
well, for me, it's like, it's the crowds. I can't take the crowds. It's too many people.
Those
I don't
lines, like last year when we met when I met Chris Claremont, it was a 2-hour wait, and that wasn't even a bad line. The line didn't look bad at all, but it took 2 hours because he likes to talk a lot too, which is very nice. But 2-hour wait, I was like, I don't need to meet him ever again. Like, thank you, it was great. But I got no time for that.
Can I tell you, as somebody who works with, you know, people who are, you know, I work with fine artists and everything like that, and one of my jobs has been to get through lines with people. He needs better people working with him to get him through lines. God bless. Love Chris Claremont. Love everything he's done. The last time I saw him, I stood in line for an hour and a half, and I was the next person. There were 2 people ahead of him. There was one person ahead of me, and he's like, I got to go to the bathroom. So he gets up to go to the bathroom. He's gone for 10 minutes. And his like wrangler is like, I don't know where he is. Like, where'd he go? And then he looks over, and Chris Claremont is at a booth, like an aisle away, talking to someone else. And it's just like, there's a line of people. And granted, listen, guys, they're older, fine. Like, you know what I am? I'm really good at wrangling. And you're not going to spend more than 5 minutes talking because there are people to talk to. Let's go. And honestly, when I did get up to him, I was dressed up as Amanda Sefton. And that was like, he wanted to take a picture with me. So we took a picture. And then he like wouldn't stop talking to me about Amanda Sefton. And I was like, oh, dude, I appreciate this. And I'd love to stop and talk with you. But like, you got a line of people. I've got too much anxiety to let you keep this line of people waiting on me.
Yeah. So, no, he's definitely, I think, at that age and, you know, point in his life where he doesn't really care. He's just like, I'm going to do what I want, which is great. But we're also like, and that's you, the rest of us. But yeah, I mean, I always appreciate people that take the time to talk to us as fans. It's always better that way than the opposite extreme. And but yeah, anyways, Heroes Con is great. Everybody should go. It's my favorite convention because it's like 99% comic book based.
Love that.
So
Love
it makes
that.
me so happy.
Yeah. New York is definitely more comic oriented than Hollywood, but there's still a lot of Hollywood stuff. I will say the last time I had a celebrity that I really did consider paying to have a picture taken with was Brendan Fraser.
Nice.
But
I've heard nothing but good things about the guy.
Oh my God. I mean, listen, he was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I had a lot of Teen Bop and Sassy magazines with his picture on my wall.
Yeah.
Which actually I'm in my childhood bedroom right now, but you can't tell because it doesn't exist anymore. Amazing. All right. Well, guys, thank you all joining us for over an hour talking about Deadpool and Wolverine and answering your phenomenal questions. We love hearing from you. For those of you, before we get this started, guys, I'm going to throw this out there. Anyone want to go to New York Comic Con? If you guys are planning or thinking about going to New York Comic Con, let us know because I will totally arrange something. I'll find a bar or a restaurant in New York City. I will rent out a room and we will have a goddamn party if we do that.
Amazing.
So yeah. So let's start that conversation right now. We're gonna have our own little Hellfire Gala at New York Comic Con.
I love it.
Yeah. But for those of you out there, Lauren, tell them where they can find you.
Pretty much on Twitter at friendlymBHDBI. There's other links there, but that's like really the only thing I check. I check my Instagram here and there. So.
Okay, perfect. Yep. And you can find us on Twitter. We're, Simply Amazing Pod. Go to simplyamazingpod.com. That's got all of our links and everything there. And eventually I'll start putting more stuff on that website. Let me tell you, anxiety is no joke, guys. And it is a brutal disease that some of us live with on a daily basis. And Lauren can tell you too. So.
I was going to say it literally, not to drag this on more, but it literally took me days to realize last week that if the problems I was having weren't physical, then that means it was my anxiety. And so I was like, fuck. I was like, and I couldn't believe how bad it had gone. Cause anxiety, I deal with it pretty much daily too. So, but I didn't realize like it could, I could have so much anxiety that it literally, it's hard for me to, I feel like, dizzy or kind of unstable walking. I was like, fuck, it's my anxiety. It's crazy, guys. So anybody that lives with anxiety, I completely feel you because I'm still getting back to my baseline.
Yeah, it's very hard. We want to get into it, but yeah, I agree. All right, well, guys, thank you again for listening to us for this fabulous. Let us know what you thought about Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, I threw the poll up already, but it's so by the time you guys find it, hear it here. But By the time you hear it here, we'll have the results. Or did I put this poll up? I don't even remember now.
I don't know, honestly.
I don't remember. But yeah, we're trying to figure out who's Deadpool and who's Wolverine between the two of us. I think I know who it is, and Lauren thinks she knows.
We're in agreement pretty much.
We
but
are pretty much in
I want to
agreement.
see what you guys think.
I want to see what you guys think too. Who's the Deadpool and who's the Wolverine? Because I bought those little keychains, and one of us is going to get Deadpool, and one of us is going to get Wolverine.
Yay!
So yeah, guys, come find us on everything. Like us, subscribe to us, do whatever you like to us. Well, within reason. Ask for consent, please.
Damn it, Lisa.
Yeah, and if you are out there and you have been trying to bring your favorite character to the big screen for the longest time, it'll happen. Just keep working on it. Ryan did it, and you're simply amazing.